massive news for type 1 diabetics.
Type 1 diabetes cure update. I have some very exciting data that I want to share with you regarding the SANA trial going on in Sweden right now. If you were not aware, this is the most exciting trial working on a cure for type 1 diabetes right now. There are a lot of companies trying to cure type 1 diabetes right now, but there are only a few trials that are really exciting. This trial is the most exciting out of all of them, and it's going on at Uppsala University Hospital in Sweden right here. Isn't that a beautiful hospital? I'm going to show you the most recent data that SANA reported on at the American Diabetes Association conference in Chicago 2 weeks ago. I'm also going to show you a video of the procedure at the very end, so stay to the end. Here's some quick background on this trial, just in case this is the first time you're hearing of it. SANA was able to take insulin-producing beta cells, genetically modify them so that the human immune system could not detect them, and look what happened. They exposed it to human blood up in this top right corner. None of their cells were killed. Over here, they have partially edited groups of cells that were killed within 4 hours. These cells are still alive 6 months later, and that is the data that I'm going to show you today. Pay close attention to these words in their trial design. This is really exciting. First in human safety study. This is the first company to attempt a trial like this on a type 1 diabetic, and the most exciting part of it is that it requires no immunosuppression. This is the reason why this trial is #1 in excitement right now in the entire type 1 community. As of right now, we are at the 26-week mark of this trial. That's 6 months from the time the patient was dosed. Let's look at some of the study details. Just like in any trial, the primary goal is safety and tolerability, and so far they have passed that with flying colors right here. The secondary endpoint is it actually working? And I'm going to show you today that yes, it is still working 6 months later with a stable C-peptide level. It's important to note that they weren't actually trying to cure this patient of type 1 diabetes in this very specific trial. They only gave him about 5% of the volume of beta cells needed to control blood sugar. They were just checking their proof of concept to see if their cells could actually evade immune detection. I'm going to show you a video of the actual procedure that was done on this patient in just a second, but they were injected in the forearm muscle of this patient, which is a great site because that allows the cells to have a rich blood supply with lots of oxygen being delivered to these beta cells, because beta cells require high levels of oxygen. This is probably the most exciting slide I'm going to show you. You can see the 26-week data here of the basal C-peptide. This tells you if the patient is producing insulin just at a basal level, and the level you can see here is as high as it's ever been in the past 6 months, which is excellent news. Over here is the mixed meal tolerance test, and we have 26-week data on that too. They fed the patient some carbohydrates to see if the beta cells would ramp up insulin production like they're supposed to, and look what happened. The 26-week data is this brown-looking diamond right at the very top there. So you can see how nicely these cells are still working 6 months later. Here's a few more slides on the 6-month data. So far, they have still been able to evade T-cell response. This slide shows that there were no donor-specific antibodies produced against the beta cells at 26 weeks. This one shows that they were able to evade the patient's natural killer cell response at the 26-week mark, which is another avenue that these beta cells are killed through. If you've taken a biology class, you've learned that our bodies have both an adaptive and an innate immune system, which both work very differently. This slide shows that so far at 6 months, they have been able to avoid both adaptive and innate immune responses towards these beta cells, which is amazing. I'm going to show you the actual video of the procedure now, but look at the donor information in the top left corner, and then look at the recipient information here in the bottom left corner. The patient's A1C was 10.9%. He was 42 years old, and he's had type 1 diabetes since 1987. They reported that this procedure took 90 minutes to perform, but if everything continues to go well with this trial and they can prove that it actually works on type 1 diabetics on a large scale, I can assure you that procedure time is going to be cut down significantly. I also want to comment that as someone who does anesthesia professionally, I use ultrasounds and needles all day long. I don't think it's going to be necessary for them to make a big incision in the forearm like this picture shows here. I think they're just going to be able to go right in through the skin eventually. The video is going to show these genetically modified beta cells being slowly injected in this syringe right here, and you're going to see him slowly withdraw the syringe to spread these beta cells out so they have a lot of surface area contact with blood flow and oxygen delivery. Watch this, this is awesome.
Plastic part while injecting the cells in this way. As you can see, it's not that advanced surgery, but it's tedious since you need to spread the cells as much as possible. I think it's good that it
That is so awesome.
Of course, Bennington.
Not that hard. If you stayed for the whole video, then I have a surprise for you right at the end here. Santa presented 2 weeks ago at the ADA conference, and one thing that they presented on was what's next for them. Right now, they are working on being able to take all of this technology and apply it to a stem cell-derived beta cell, because they're going to need to be able to do that to cure people on a massive scale. But something new we learned 2 weeks ago is that Santa is going to try to do that with their own stem cell line. They're going to try to do all of this in-house themselves, which I think is phenomenal if they can make it work. I'm super excited for everything they're working on, and if you want more updates, make sure to follow me here and I'll give them to you.